Hello there, dear viewer, and welcome to attaQ. My name is Jakob. I'm your host, and you're watching attaQ episode. And in this episode, we're having a look at more AUM features that are easy to miss. I already did one of these videos with 11 features in there, but it seems I missed some because I got a lot of comments, and so I decided to do a video in where I include all of your tips. So thank you, all of you who commented. Thank you for your tips, and let's go. In my previous AUM features video, I talked about level metering. You tap up here on the level meter, and then you can pretty much select exactly what you want to meter. Now, there is a way of actually selecting what you want to meter when it comes to the channels. You see, you have these three dots here on the input and on the outputs, and these are meters too, and they're really hard to use because they only give you green, yellow, and red, as you can see here. But if you wanted to meter, for instance, the input of channel 1, all you have to do is to tap that, and it selects channel 1. And now we have channel 1 in the metering. I didn't actually know about this. Thank you for the tip. You see, AUM actually has a timeline. So if I play up here, you can actually see the time moving forward, and we can move through this timeline. So, for instance, let me just press pause here and go back to the beginning. If I press and hold down on the play area here, and then drag forward, you can see that I am now moving forward in the timeline. This is pretty sweet. This is so useful, especially if you're doing a mixdown of really long audio files. When you're importing stems, for instance, into AUM, you put them up on multiple channels and you want to be able to move to certain points in your track. Well, here you can actually do this. The next thing I want to show you has to do with the timeline too, and the offset feature. Here I've got two loops, and imagine these two loops being, for instance, vocal samples or something. You got one for the intro and one for a chorus or something like that, and you want them to kind of play one after another. How do you do that? By using offset for the timeline. So this one, we want to keep the offset at 0. That means that this will start playing as soon as we press play. However, the second one, we want to offset this one, and as you can see, stuff is happening up here when I'm doing this. And if we keep going up, and if I drag it, we can see that now at this point it will start playing when half of this loop has started playing. Now we're gonna keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going until we're at 16. Now this number will vary depending on how long your loop actually is, but for us right now it's 16. And with it set like this now means that as soon as I press play, it will start playing the first loop, and the second loop, as you can see, it won't start playing until it's gone around a whole lap, and there it goes. I hope this gives you some ideas on what to do with your projects. If you've got some vocals, singing and stuff you want to put into your AUM projects and have them, start at certain times in the track, then you can do that with offset. The next thing has to do with keyboard zones, and it's pretty neat being able to have that. So with keyboard zones, you can set up certain instruments to only play in certain areas of your keyboard. And here I've actually set up a session where I can play 3 different synths with 3 different zones. So I've got Agonizer mapped from B and down all the way to C2 and further down. And I've got Shaper Synthesizer mapped from C3 up to C4. And I've got Poison 202 mapped from C4 and up. And the way you do that is you go into the MIDI settings. So right now I'm gonna tap up here, and then you just scroll down, and here you have it, note range. As you can see, I've put Agonizer from C1 up to B2. And you set this up by either dragging here or by tapping these arrows. If I go out of here and I go into Shaper Synthesizer, you can see that I've set this one up from C3 to B3. And if I go to Poison 202, you can see that I've set this one up from C4 to G9. If I show you the connections, you can see that the keyboard is going out to Agonizer, Poison 202, and Shaper. Now, you can do the exact same thing for hardware controllers if you've got them connected. Now, there's one more thing I want to show you in here. When you're mapping out keyboard zones, you might want to transpose some of your synths, because if you've, like me, got 3 synthesizers mapped across your keyboard, well, if you want to play a C3 with Poison 202 here, well, you can't do that because it's already mapped from C4. Well, you open up the MIDI settings and go down a little bit further, and here you can find transpose. And as you can see, I've actually transposed Poison 202 up 12 semitones, simply because I wanted it to play really high frequency lead sound. But you could easily just turn this down by dragging or by tapping. Alright, so I want to show you something that I keep having to be reminded of by people all the time, especially during my live streams, and that is double tapping on this line. You see, if you want to add another node here, then usually what you do is drag up and press the plus sign. But you actually don't have to do that. As long as you've got space, you can always double tap on the line, and as you can see, a new node is created. It's a small feature, but it's, it just makes work much quicker. So the last feature I want to show you is this. I'm going to press on the BPM settings here, and what I'm going to do is double tap on this number here. And this allows you to type in your stuff. And you can do this in many other places. For instance, in the settings, if you want to go in here, like for instance, setting up the default fader levels, then you can double tap here and you can type in 7. And there you go. To be honest, I don't use this double tap typing feature that often, and many times I just sit there being frustrated over the fact that I can't drag stuff right. It's so stupid. I don't know why I keep doing it. Okay, so I have a last little bonus feature for you, and that is when you want an overview of your latency, DSP, stuff like that, tap the DSP meter, and here you can see your sample rate, buffer size, buffer duration, latency, all of that stuff. But you can't really do any settings or anything through that. It's just an overview, which is why I kind of included it as a bonus feature. If you know any more features that are hidden or hard to find, or stuff that I haven't talked about when it comes to AUM in my ever-growing list of AUM videos, then comment down below. If you liked this video, then why don't you give me a thumbs up? And if you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. If you want to support the channel, then I suggest you subscribe and click that little bell icon so you get notified whenever I upload a video. You can also share these videos. If you want to help me out in a financial way, then I suggest you go and check out my music. You can find a full list of links down below in the description. And I've also got Patreon and I've got PayPal. And if you don't want to do any of that, then that's okay too. Now, as usual, I wish you a very productive week. Now go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it.